Hello YouTube, StuckInAPool here, and today I've got some more Fire Emblem Hero stuff for you. So it's a new arena season with new bonus heroes rotating in, and as always when this happens, I'm going to do a little video talking about some of the heroes and some quick builds that you could, throw onto them fairly quickly just in case you have realized that you don't have any of these heroes and you kind of just need to get one ready so you have that bonus hero for this arena season. So this arena season, your bonus heroes are new Reinhardt, new Olwen, Leaf, Nana, Sias, Legion, Priscilla, Male Robin, Ephraim, and Alphonse. But as always, I'm only going to be talking about heroes that aren't new and aren't the Asker trio, because, as I said before, with the new heroes, every time a new banner comes out, there are 18 different big YouTubers that are like, hey, here's every possible build you can do with this unit. So they're already pretty well discussed, and if you want to find info for those heroes, if you were lucky enough to get one, then it's already out there. And some people don't want to use them or aren't lucky enough to get them, so that's why I kind of want to talk about the other heroes. So the four heroes I'll be talking about are Legion, Priscilla, Male Robin, and Ephraim. So as always, I'm going to talk a little bit about the hero, just kind of their general traits, and just kind of like if you need a specific type of unit on your team, why I think they're a good fit. And then I'll do just a couple builds for each, one being super budget that you could kind of throw together quickly for the most part, and the other being just, looking at it as if I had unlimited resources, this is what I'd do.
Legion is many, yes, yes, yes!
So first we have Legion. Now Legion's strong against lances, he's okay against axes, and if he can get the jump on him, he's good against blue and green mages. Obviously Legion is a bit of a glass cannon. Both of his defensive stats are pretty low, his offensive stats are pretty good. He's pretty much kind of on the same level. He's very comparable to Raven. He does get some bulk just from having high HP though, so that kind of works well in his favor, especially with Fury. And then his unique axe helps him to kind of more easily fight Emblem teams. Since the panic effect happens after combat though, that first engagement can be kind of tough, so he's kind of got to pick his battles a little bit. After he gets that panic effect off though, if there are enemies nearby, he should be in pretty good shape. So for his budget build that I put together, you pretty much just keep his axe upgraded if you can, give him a little extra speed. His assist tools give him reposition just for lack of better option. His special, we're going to give him Moonbow instead. He'd be okay keeping his reprisal, just given that, like I said, with his health being as high as it is and his defenses being kind of low, he'll probably get a pretty good amount of bonus damage off. He'll usually be pretty low HP, I would think, but I think Moonbow is just a little more reliable of an option if you can afford it. If not, go with whatever you want. His A slot, we're giving him Fury. He comes with it, so pretty easy choice. Like I said, it's good for the fragile types like him, the all-out offensive guys. And it meshes well with his B skill, which we're giving him Vantage here. You could go with something like Desperation, but I think as hard-hitting as he is, and as squishy as he is, I think Vantage might help him to stay alive in a pinch, especially with Threat and Defense. I've mentioned it before, I really like this trio of skills. Offensively, it helps buff you up. It's pretty easy to get in Vantage range, and then on enemy phase, particularly if you're able to get off your special, then you can, hopefully delete the enemy before they even have a chance to do anything. And that attack +3 helps to do that even more so. And then for his more expensive build, this is kind of just like a wild and crazy build. Again, we'll keep his axe, keep reposition. For his special, we're going to give him Gale Force just because we're going to combo Life and Death with Heavy Blade, so that he'll more often than not proc Heavy Blade, and then as long as he's fighting a melee unit, he'll probably double them with his speed. And then he'll proc Gale Force after that fight, because more than likely his offense is going to be high enough that, again, if he's able to pick his battles well, he'll eliminate that enemy, and then he'll either be able to retreat or just run in and do more damage, particularly if he's just on your defense team or something. And he doesn't have to worry about staying alive. We're going to couple all that with Threat and Speed just to make sure he can double, and Desperation so that on that second turn when he's going to be low health, one hit with his low defenses will probably put him in Desperation range. He can just, run up to the next person and eliminate them without getting hit.
I'll ease your pain.
The next unit we'll discuss is Priscilla. Priscilla is basically kind of a mage tank. She's able to hold her own against magic damage dealers because her resistance is actually pretty good. It's hard for her to avoid doubles with her speed unless she has a little boost. She can fight melee units if they can't retaliate pretty well. And then being a cavalry healer means she'll have access to the buff she needs to be a little more offensive and stay alive a little better, thanks to like a home cavalry speed buff. It also means, of course, that she'll have more range, which makes her, more of a threat if she is being offensive, or safer if she needs to get away. Another thing about her is, because of her stat line, it is kind of well-rounded except for defense. And between her salvageable offensive stats and her good res, you can put ploys on her. You can make her offensive, you can make her support. She's very flexible. So our first build is a true Troubadour, however you pronounce it. This is basically a fully supportive build. You wouldn't see it a whole lot. It's kind of hard to fit a support unit on your team if they're not able to at least take care of like one type of enemy that you're worried about. Typically, you want your support to at least be able to like kill one very specific type of unit that might give you trouble. But if you don't need to worry about that, then this is a good build, I think. We'll keep her Panic Staff, keep Rehabilitate. We'll give her Miracle just to kind of help her stay alive. You could keep Imbue to help her stay topped off a little bit. Those are really the two options I would consider. But if you can afford it, go for Miracle. We're going to give her Resistance +3. If you're feeling generous, you could give her something like Distant Defense here. Personally, I like it more because I'm going to put Attack Ploy in the S slot, Escape Route, which is what I put in your B slot. Again, she has a lot of mobility, but that extra little... being able to get to any ally on the field is going to be good for her. And then she has Spur Defense in the C slot, so we're just going to keep it there. It's cheap. She doesn't need defense. This way she can just kind of camp next to one of her allies, up their defense. So all around, she's very much support oriented. She can get an attack ploy off on an enemy and hopefully be standing next to an ally, so that enemy is going to have not only reduced ability to do damage, your teammate's going to have increased defense. So hopefully that buffing potential is going to make a big impact. Hopefully. There are a lot of tweaks that can be made to this build to kind of make her fit your team better, but like I said, she is very flexible, so you can kind of do what you want. Her next build, I'm going to call it the Valkyrie build. She's been classed up, now she has a little more offensive potential. We're going to switch out her staff. Instead of going with the Panic Staff, we're going to give her Gravity, so that she can keep enemies kind of at bay a little easier with help. We'll keep her Rehabilitate. Honestly, I think it's still a good skill. You could go with Recover, but they're both still pretty good. We'll go with Miracle again, like I said, help her stay alive. And the A skill, we're going to give her Brazen Attack Speed 3. This is going to give her offense as a big buff, on top of hopefully Home Cavalry also getting to her. So honestly, she's going to be doing a pretty decent amount of damage, as long as she has the B skill, Wrathful Staff. And I kind of was back and forth on her C and S slot. You could very easily just go double Savage Blow, but I kind of want to do something a little different, because you see that so often now, especially with the Gravity Staff. So you could do that, but I'm going to go with Attack Ploy and Distant Defense. Make her more of a mage baiter kind of unit. My issue was when I was going to go with Savage Blow, I thought about it with the Dazzling Staff. She's going to have a little trouble getting into Brazen Attack speed range. Even with a Home Cavalry buff, she's only going to be sitting at 35 speed. So she's at risk to get doubled. And honestly, I think going with the Distant Defense and Attack Ploy will help her very safely get into range where she can do a lot of damage. I think that's a little better than the 14 chip damage, honestly. But like I said, she's flexible. Your results may vary.
Time to tip the scales!
Our third unit is Robin. So Robin is, of course, strong against red mages, and he can handle swords, as long as he's, able to get the drop on him. And of course, with his natural Raven Tome, he can also very well handle bows, and daggers, and staves. Unfortunately, with that, if you are using Triangle Adept, you have to kind of be careful of, Cancel Affinity. Overall, he's a pretty well-rounded unit. Whether you find that to be a good or bad thing, typically bad, but you can specialize him. I think one of his better stats is his defense, and that's kind of unique to mages. There aren't a whole lot of high defense mages. I've mentioned before, I think that magic units with high defense and physical units with high resistance tend to have an advantage most of the time, just because most units have a high defense of whatever type of damage they do. So I think having those cross defenses, I guess is what I could call them, is kind of handy. And Robin overall, I think he's a good meta check just because there are a lot of brave bows out there. Even without Triangle Adept, if you just keep his Raven Tome and give him like a bow breaker or like a sword breaker if you're more worried about swords, he can be overall just a really good meta check. So our first build for him, it's a little cheaper. I was kind of back and forth on this one as well. We'll keep his Raven Tome, we'll just give him drawback or reposition or something like that. We can keep his Bonfire. His defense isn't high enough to get a huge bonus from it, but this is honestly the easiest thing to do, and the bonus damage is still fairly good. His A skill, we're going to give him Triangle Adept. The B skill, you could just give him Bowbreaker if you want to make him extra good against brave bows. But I'm going to give him Lancebreaker here instead, just because I do think there are a lot of Lance meta threats, you know, kind of like your Hardens, that he could do a little better against with Lancebreaker. But for the S slot, we're going to give him Quick Riposte, so that way he can kind of bait in all those ranged colorless units and double them and hopefully put them down. In the C slot, we're going to go with Spur Defense. I don't like having it there, to be honest, but it's what he comes with. And the alternatives aren't a whole lot better in terms of like cheap options, so you can keep it and he can just help his fellow physical tanks tank a little better, hopefully. Another option I thought of for this like cheap-ish build, you can always go with, like I said, Fury and Bowbreaker instead of Triangle Adept and Lancebreaker, if you want to make him a little less hyper specialized and weak to cancel affinity builds that you might run into. And the next build, I'm going to call it Birdboy 2.0. We gave him an Owl Tome instead of a Raven Tome. We gave him Drawback, keep him Bonfire, and for this build we're going to give him Fury. So overall, this is basically just a very stat-boosted version of Robin. I kind of took advantage of his well-roundedness and just went with whatever I could do to get his stats up real high. This way, Fury will boost him by 3, and if he's lucky enough to get all of his allies stacked around him, that'll be plus 6. So overall, Robin's going to be looking pretty strong thanks to the Owl Tome. We put Quick Riposte in the S slot, and because I don't really like pairing Fury with Quick Riposte, we also put Renewal in the B slot, so that way he'll hopefully stay topped off and still be in Quick Riposte range. And then the C slot, like I said, there aren't a whole lot of great options for him. I think Res Tactic is a great option for him though, since he doesn't really want to get hit by mages that much. He'll probably want allies around him that do, so he can buff their res up so they can do it better.
Trust me, I don't pick fights I can't win.
And our last unit that we'll discuss here is Ephraim. Ephraim is good against swords. He's okay against lances, and of course if he can get the drop on him, he can handle red and blue mages pretty well. Ephraim, along with his sister, is one of the original buff bots. He complements blade tomes and just in general, like any high damage unit that could use a stat buff to do a little more damage, like to be around him. And one nice thing about him is he is very flexible in terms of his build, thanks to the fact that he has 3 different weapons to choose from, sort of. I know technically his buffed weapon is just a better version of his normal weapon, but he also has the Flame Siegman if he wants to try that instead. So our first build for him, we'll keep his regular Siegman, upgrade it if you can. All it does is literally make him better. I mean, even his buff gets a little stronger. We give him Rally, Defense, and Resistance, so he's hitting on 3 stats already, or able to. We'll keep his Moonbow, because, you know, nothing wrong with having Moonbow. We'll put Triangle Adept in his A slot. Put Lancebreaker in his B slot. Very cookie cutter, but there's a reason it's used so much. It's pretty effective. And then we'll keep Threat and Defense in his C slot, another good skill. And then the S slot, we'll give him Hone Speed, so that way he's able to hit on all 4 stats. Nothing really groundbreaking here. He'll be strong against swords, which, you know, meta says is a good thing. There are a lot of strong swords out there. And he'll be strong against lances. And then his more expensive build, he's gained the Power of Pursuit with his new lance. We'll buff it up, and then we'll keep Rally, Defense, and Resistance. Instead of Moonbow, we're going to give him Aether. It'll help him stay alive and hopefully topped off so that he'll be able to get that follow-up attack. For that same reason, we're going to give him Renewal. And then in the C slot, we're going to give him Hone Speed. So again, he's able to hit on all 4 stats. So he's still able to do his job as a buff bot. We're going to put Death Blow in the A slot. So that way, for both of his attacks, he's getting an extra 6 damage. So that's an extra 12 damage. And then we'll put Heavy Blade in the S slot. He's hitting at 51 attack with his build. With Death Blow, he'll be at 57. And that should typically be enough for a Heavy Blade proc. Which means, basically, he's going to have Aether ready after that first fight. If he's engaging, and hopefully the next unit he fights he'll be able to proc it and top off. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I really just wanted to get this out there to maybe give some ideas to the people out there that really basically just had to pick between these 4 units because like you haven't trained Alphonse yet, and who could blame you? PS Intelligent Systems, please have some buffs for the Asker trio soon. And if you didn't get one of the new units yet off the banner, or you're saving up your orbs, or if you just don't really like the new Grand Hero unit for some reason, he seems like he'd be pretty cool. He's just Arvis 2.0. But either way, if you're wanting to pick one of these 4, hopefully I gave you some ideas, like I said. And yeah, thanks again for watching, and I hope I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.